Tech Talk with VLink, an award-winning podcast brought to you by VLink Inc.
Welcome to Tech Talk with VLink, where we dive into how technology is reshaping the future. Today's guest is Michael Sink, Field Chief Technology Officer at Worldwide Technology, who has over 2 decades of IT experience, especially in helping higher education institutions evolve and innovate. Today, we're talking about an incredibly timely topic: how AI is helping bridge the gap between academic outcomes and real world industry needs. Let's jump right in. First off, welcome, Michael. So glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Tracy. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, me too. Well, let's talk real quick right off the bat. How would you describe the current state of higher education?
So, there are certainly macro forces that are affecting higher education in general, and that certainly impacts the state of higher ed IT as well. Concerns about the value of a degree, the highly charged political environment that we're in,
Yeah.
rising tuition costs, the perception that higher education is lagging behind workforce needs is leading to a reduction in public confidence about U.S. higher education. And as these factors affect higher ed institutions, IT is also impacted. I mean, in some cases,
Yeah.
IT can be a lever to help offset some of these issues. Help create more efficiency in administrative operations, create more personalized self-service applications and functions. However, at the moment, federal and even in some cases state funding resources have been jeopardized, and that creates the need to cut funding across the institutions, and those cuts eventually trickle down into higher ed IT budgets, and so that hinders IT's capabilities and capacity to innovate, especially
Yeah.
in this age of AI. So on the one hand, IT has the potential to be a strategic partner to leverage AI and data to create more transformative engagements and perhaps more efficiently than ever before. But on the other hand, institutions are struggling to fill these financial gaps and find it difficult to fund these transformational projects. But I would say on a more positive side, I guess the higher ed IT has had the advantage for a long time of having access to an amazing amount of talent and knowledge in the faculty and staff on campus.
Yeah.
And if that's harnessed effectively, that additional pool of resources can help IT create and support innovative solutions, particularly in the area of AI, where everybody's getting involved in in this technology.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
higher ed
Well,
also has typically a lot of loyal, tenured employees with years of institutional experience and knowledge. And so I think that tacit knowledge is also valuable in delivering these technology services at colleges and universities.
absolutely. And you kind of touched on it, but why has it been historically hard for higher ed to keep pace with industry change? I know that they seem to be lagging behind. Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, and having been an IT leader in the private sector and private sector businesses and industries, and also in higher ed, I've seen, the differences in how IT is perceived. I think a lot of it is organizational and cultural, to be honest. I
Mm,
think those factors have influenced higher ed IT. Um, IT and higher ed has traditionally been very distributed and fragmented across the institution. Colleges and departments in higher ed are highly autonomous. They can
yeah.
build or buy their own solutions internally, perhaps with some of their grad students and maybe with their own dedicated IT staff. Um, Colleges within a university, especially those with a strong affinity for technology, departments like computer science or engineering,
Mhm.
they possess incredible talent and knowledge, and they can serve as innovation engines, but they're not so good at creating sustainable solutions that can be funded, that can be secured, scaled across the institution, and then of course maintained long term. Central IT departments tend to have more focus on things
Yeah.
like availability, reliability, security, and if you're not staffed or funded adequately to respond to newer innovative technologies, then colleges and departments tend to go off on their own and build or buy their own thing.
And work in silos and stuff
Yes,
like that. We're making it much more difficult to innovate across the whole organization. I get that.
right.
You touched on AI. Um, would you say AI is uniquely positioned to help bridge the academic industry gap that you spoke of, and how?
I think it is positioned if it's understood and used appropriately, and I think you have to get past some of those organizational and cultural challenges to make sure that AI does actually bridge that gap. There's an expectation that AI and it can be used to replace a lot of the manual, mundane activities that consume a lot of our resources on campus and really detract from focusing on creating better outcomes. So if you start by assessing use cases where a lot of time is being spent by people doing things that could be replaced by an intelligent technology solution that can not only automate the routine tasks, but even begin to respond intelligently and that learns from patterns of success, then you should be able to free up people time to focus on activities that are more engaging and meaningful.
Yeah.
I think AI is leaping forward in this digital transformation age because of its potential to offer personalized solutions at scale. So some of the challenges that we've had on higher ed campuses in the past has been, like, for example, I used to work at a very large public research institution where we had 70,000 students, and it's very hard
Wow.
to meet each one of those students where they are with, only, 15,000 employees. So a quick
Hmm.
example would be something like an AI assistant to help students find and access resources more efficiently than if they were, say, surfing websites or interacting with live agents behind a counter, waiting in long lines.
Yeah, it makes sense. And Michael, since you've been working with higher institutions for a number of years, what AI tools or platforms do you think higher ed institutions are most excited about right now? I know there's the industry side and then there's the higher ed side. It
Sure.
probably some of that meets in the middle, right? I mean, similar interests.
I think so. I think the technology, it's really more applying it to the use cases that are unique to higher education. So, but a lot of the technology is the same. It works the same. It's just, how are we going to apply the technology? Some of the specific applications, and I would really call these more use cases, like how can we leverage this technology, this transformative technology, to better engage to create outcomes and to accelerate those outcomes. One thing that I've seen and have talked to many faculty, some are a little hesitant to rely on AI too much, but once
Yeah.
they see these tools continue to mature, I think there's a lot of excitement around things like AI teaching assistants and AI
Mhm.
tutors. These AI teaching assistants and tutors are available 24/7 to answer questions and to guide students, and they can be tweaked and tuned so that they're not cheat bots. They are more coaches.
Mhm.
So they won't give you the answer, but they can tell you where to go to find the answer. So they're not replacing the learning process, they're accelerating it. So I think those types of applications are very exciting. Things like AI research assistants. Again, anything that can remove a lot of the manual, repetitive, mundane tasks
Yeah.
to help you accelerate to get to the outcomes that you desire. Those are the ones that I think that are really exciting. Um, the other, I think, in terms of excitement on campuses are those that employ this agentic AI
Mhm.
type of interaction where AI is not only finding and retrieving information and even generating information, but also acting intelligently on your behalf. So imagine a student who is interacting with agentic AI to ask questions like, "What is my class schedule for next semester?" Well, this, and then asking the AI digital assistant, "Please drop this class and add this class." So the student's not even having to log into the student information system.
Amazing.
This agentic AI is acting on it on the student's behalf to accelerate, again, getting to the job that needs to be done.
It's crazy. I mean, that's mind blowing. Like AI tutors, I can't even think about that when I was back in
Right.
college. That's crazy. And then the agentic AI thing. I mean, now what role does data play in helping universities tailor education to workforce needs, and how does AI amplify that?
Well, data, um, AI is trained on data.
Hmm.
So if you take a large language model and you're employing that as part of your AI solution, and you're augmenting that LLM with your data, the data has to be curated, has to be accurate. You have to maintain privacy of that and security of that data. So those things don't change. Data privacy and
Right.
security are still, top of mind, but the accuracy of the data is much more critical because these AI interactions are real time.
Hmm.
Unlike data reporting, where you have time to look at the report, oh, that doesn't look right. I'm not sure about this data. And you can go back and reevaluate the data if it doesn't look right. Um, in AI interactions, especially when they're acting on your behalf, that data has to be accurate, real
Hmm.
time.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Michael, what are I mean, you work with many universities across the country. What are the first steps a CIO or IT leader at a university should take away if they want to integrate AI strategically?
I think this is a technology that is influencing every department, every college across campus. So this obviously can't be driven solely by the CIO or by IT. There has to be executive support, leadership at the president, the provost, at the
Yep.
executive cabinet level. And I think it's important to make the case that the university needs to be intentional about an
Hmm.
AI strategy, maybe creating a council or a center of excellence that's very inclusive so that all of the colleges and departments and the different personas that are on campus, including students, are involved in how the university is going to implement AI. And then I think brainstorming use cases. I think one of the most important things, and I've seen like an analysis paralysis happen at some institutions where they're kind of waiting for things to get perfect before they start. Or
Hmm.
they're starting with a chat bot, a very basic chat bot, but they're not continuing to iterate and innovate and accelerate, their deployment of AI. And I think they're going to be very quickly left behind. So I think it's important to brainstorm the use cases, prioritize those use cases based on a set of criteria that's important to the university, balancing, innovation with things like feasibility. Are those data sources ready, for
Hmm.
AI?
Hmm.
And then dedicate
Okay.
resources. That's the intentional part. This can't be someone's part-time job. There has to be an investment.
Yeah.
And then I think it's important to build capabilities that can be reused to iterate through those use cases so that as each use case
Hmm.
comes up, it's not like it's the first time you've done this. So you're building almost a flywheel approach to AI so that you can continue to rinse and repeat those capabilities to generate new use cases.
And capabilities like privacy, security, ethical concerns. And,
Yes,
especially
absolutely.
how do you balance that need, innovation with all those concerns of with the student data, which is the heart of any university?
Yeah, those have to be baked into those repeatable frameworks. It's kind of like Ford's motto, quality is job one. It's baked in. It's not something that's thought about after the fact. You're considering security, privacy, the ethical, the implicit, explicit biases that could be in those AI applications. You're considering all that, and you have guardrails that you're building that can be repeatedly implemented as part of those AI applications. So it has to be, again, I think, built into that flywheel approach where you're not leaving security, at the end.
Yeah. Well, we talked about, the tutors, AI tutors. We've talked about agentic AI. What future AI capabilities are you most excited about that could further transform the student experience?
I I've been thinking about this concept of an AI digital assistant And it can be called, branded or whatever, to the unique culture or whatever the university wants to call it. At WWT, we call ours Atom AI, ATOM AI. And so having that assistant that continues to evolve and mature, but something that starts with you from the time that you apply at the institution and
Mm,
is your personal digital assistant for your entire journey through graduation and even as you become an alumni, a sports fan, a donor.
yeah.
This AI digital assistant um, gets to know who you are, has access to your CV, information about your
Mm,
journey that can help you find resources that can provide. And again, this is where the agentic nature comes in, where it's
yeah.
also calling on different agents to interact with all the applications that you would need to interact with so that it simplifies but personalizes and customizes your experience, but helps you get to the resources that you need at the time you need them as efficiently as possible.
Yeah. What a great idea. Kind of like a mascot.
Yeah,
Sort of like your
exactly.
personal little mascot. Yeah, I love that. Well, if you could give one piece of advice to higher ed leaders looking to modernize, what would it be?
I think, again, it would be to be intentional,
Hmm.
be willing to have a commitment at the
Hmm.
leadership level to hold firm to a strategy. You certainly have some flexibility in there, especially as AI continues to evolve. But there tends to be a lot of focus on building consensus across the university and making sure that everybody's on board before we can move forward. I
Yeah.
think it's important to be intentional and build a roadmap and have a commitment to stick to that. If as you run into
Take
brick walls, you
chances.
certainly, I'm
Take
sorry.
chances. Take chances.
Absolutely. Take
Yeah.
chances. You don't want to risk data privacy and security. I'm not talking about that, but
Right.
don't wait for things to be perfect before you roll them out. Be willing to
I love that.
experiment, especially within higher ed. I mean, that's the whole, premise behind, creating knowledge, being innovative. I think they should be willing to be more on the cutting edge
Yeah.
than they have been in the past.
Good advice. Well, I know what tell us what's next for your work at WWT. You guys work with a lot of higher education institutions. How can these institutions engage with you and your team?
Yeah, I mean, worldwide technology has been investing and innovating in this AI space, even before generative AI, was commercialized.
Yeah.
We've been working with AI technologies and our OEM partners like NVIDIA and Intel and others for more than 15 years. And our goal is to help institutions, higher ed institutions, and our other customers and other vertical industries accelerate their understanding and adoption of AI technologies and to take advantage of this massive potential that AI offers. We have a platform called the Advanced Technology Center, and part of this platform has an AI proving ground that has labs and learning paths that are available free of charge to our customers, our non-customers. They can go out, they can learn about AI,
Mm,
they can use NVIDIA GPUs and high performance storage, and they can walk through these labs, and it accelerates their understanding of how AI works, but also gives them a sandbox they can play around with. And some of our university customers, some of the professors actually have their students go out to our AI proving ground and use some of those labs as part of their classroom experience. They ask the students to
that's
take these
awesome.
labs because they see that it is helping accelerate their learning and understanding. But then, of course, we love to come alongside of our university customers and potential
Yeah.
customers and help them again accelerate and achieve the outcomes that they're looking for with AI.
I love that. I love that. Well, Michael, this has been such an insightful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with our listeners. It certainly has been interesting.
Oh, Tracy, I really enjoyed it, and I hope it's been meaningful to our listeners. And yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you all for listening. And if someone is considering integrating AI into their tech stack, VLink can help with that. We offer free consultation and assessment. And thanks everybody for tuning in today. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.